Hello everyone, welcome to the Web of Wonder. My name is Jennifer EIREEN and I'm here to talk about the new moon on the 1st of December in the sign of Sagittarius. Today I am at a different location. As you maybe can see behind me, there are a lot of plátanos. These are banana plants and I'm in the beautiful lands of Colombia right now. So I'm in a very different energy, and I think this is also really connecting us with the new moon. I feel that with this new moon, we are really experiencing a storm of details. And this is a storm that is cleansing, a storm of detail that is kind of pushing us forwards into action. And it is a storm of details that is also inviting us to reflect. We have Mercury retrograding right now, which is really calling us to stay open, to be fluid, to adapt to short-term changes, and to have that extra amount of patience, because things may not flow as we always foresee it in the moment. So yeah, let me get into all of this. I'm going to just put down the camera so that I have my hands free. So let us get started first with some facts about this new moon. We have the moon and the sun coming together, conjoining the dark moon that is covering the light of the sun, which is why we do not see it shining in the sky for some days. And this is happening in the sign of Sagittarius. So with the energy of Sagittarius, we are already really preparing to expand our visions, to expand our horizons. It is the fiery energy that is connected to teaching, to wisdom, not only knowledge, but really understanding how that knowledge is connected to bigger systems wherein it can become wise. And something really interesting with this new moon is that we have Mercury in retrograde right now. Mercury is also in the sign of Sagittarius, and Jupiter is in the sign right across from it in the sign of Gemini. So the natural rulers of both of those signs are in each other's signs. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and Mercury rules Gemini. So we have this really interesting exchange of wisdom right now. So I feel that right now, being a continuation of the last cycle where we had a process of really shedding off our skin, of really becoming the most vulnerable we've been in a long time, and feeling some of that last pain of having to let go, of having to become something new. Now the question arises of what do we do with that energy, and how are we able to really focus on all of the little details that are important to set up a new foundation, to have things ready, to be prepared for the next years to come. This energy of Sagittarius is really opening up our wisdom right now. It is giving us a lot of power to reflect and discern. Also with Mercury being in retrograde. This is an energy that we are really wanting to slow down a little bit, but essentially it's about revisiting topics, about understanding that sometimes we need to go back a step in order to move forwards in the long term. And going back a step to also help us reweave things, reconnect things, to kind of close all of the gaps of a circle, and to really understand how to, align all of the things that we've been working with, the things that have been calling us, and all of the details that we are noticing, and weaving them into a bigger picture that helps us connect with a sense of purpose again, that helps us really understand what can be the next steps, and also what needs to be done now so that we are able to provide also for the future. This is really inviting us to have a perspective that is broader beyond the horizon of today, of the present moment, inviting us to really reflect into the times beyond that. So it's a really good moment right now to think about what investments to make for your future. What steps can you already take now in these next months to come that will bring you closer to a goal that you have for the next years? What is essential right now to have in place so that there is a certain type of awareness of the time that things may need to develop. So already taking some steps now and kind of calculating in the time that things may need. Yeah, with this Mercury in retrograde, it's generally also a good moment to keep that in mind, to just calculate in a little bit of extra time, leave more puffer, and maybe get started on things early, but don't despair if it just doesn't work. Don't despair if you will be redirected, and have an extra portion of flexibility, having an extra portion of patience. That being said, Mercury retrograde is not only about patience, but it's really also questioning community, questioning communication, questioning commerce, questioning trade. So what exchanges right now are there to be made? But more importantly, what exchanges from the past are not yet like finished or fulfilled? So it's also a good moment to think about, where are there still some gaps to be filled? Where is there still some reciprocal contribution required? This new moon is also trining Mars. There's a trine between the moon and the sun and the two other fire signs. We have Mars in one of the fire signs in Leo, and in the other fire sign in Aries, we have the North Node. So there's a trine between the point of action, the energy of movement, of also providing, and the North Node, our destination, the energies that we want to call in and really work with, trying to understand them more and more in this lifetime, but also the area in which we may be a bit hesitant because we don't feel like we know everything. It may still feel foreign to us or scary. So right now, with this big trine, the energy is really asking, how can you right now take some steps to provide for your destiny, for really making your dreams happen, for allowing all of the steps to be taken step by step, just allowing that process to continue unfolding. Because ultimately, we are being connected right now, again, with the sense of the bigger purpose. So taking some steps right now, even if they are scary, you may understand how they can be valuable for the future years to come. And that can ignite the ability to act and to do. I feel that with taking decisions right now and taking steps right now, it is important to consider and reflect in the moment. So to not make any hesitant actions, but to take a lot of time to really get secure about what is the ambition and what is the goal, and where is the wisdom that also needs to accompany that action. So having those things in order before any action is taken. But also, what are the things that need to be communicated right now? And are they being communicated? Are they being communicated well? And yeah, just being aware that there can be there can be misunderstandings. There can be language barriers. There can be different ways of thinking and perceiving. So allowing those different ways to kind of merge and complement each other, but taking into account that those things need to be in our awareness so that we can kind of mitigate really complex processes. I feel right now we are at a point, collectively and individually, where we feel more ready again, more empowered again, to deal with some more complex things that we have had to put aside for a moment, that we have had to, that we were feeling overwhelmed with. And now some of that energy has been cleared out. We have done some of the cleansing and we are finding new inspiration. So I feel that really important right now is understanding the details of a process, and understanding how really small things can have a huge impact. That tiny things that accumulate have a different impact than just only one big action. Even things that are seemingly invisible can leave traces. And And we see this reflected in nature. So one example from my time traveling right now is that there are these tiny little bugs. I don't actually know their name. They're much smaller than mosquitoes. They are probably more like tiny little fleas or something. They are really just like a speck of dust. And there's a certain time of the day here where I am in the lands where they just come out and they can poke your skin. So you barely see them. You don't feel anything at all, but they leave traces. They leave little red marks and itchy spots. And they are just from one moment to the next coming in huge waves. And just from within 10 minutes of the evening of yesterday, my partner and I were just completely covered in bites and just completely covered in red, itchy spots that were not even visible yet. It took one day for them to really develop their redness and increase their itchiness. And it just reminds me that we have to be aware, we have to be spontaneous, we have to react, and sometimes we are also forced to go inside, forced to spend 2 hours inside of the house, to turn on the ventilators, because there's literally nothing you can do than just waiting for those waves to pass. And it also reminds me that things that are very tiny and you can hardly see them, they can still really have a strong impact. Now, this is not only a negative thing, yeah, this goes both ways. The tiny little steps that we take, they all have an impact. And we are learning this right now on the land, where we are being shown all of the trees that have been planted, all of the herbs that have been planted, and all of the small steps that over time have created this beautiful abundance of a garden, this beautiful abundance of a farm that is actually able to restore land, where the soil is changing. It's becoming more rich in nutrients. It's becoming softer and more like clay and less like stones, and more plants are also naturally starting to emerge here. The plants that just naturally grow here are starting to grow again. But all of the small steps that are needed, all of the details that need to be taken care of for such a process to be able to flourish. And that many people have not been understanding this here on the land, have been questioning why are specific trees being planted in specific areas, and telling people that it's just a waste of time because they won't get some kind of economical income from those trees. But the whole purpose of planting those trees is because the entire ecosystem needs to be restored. There is a whole big network of trees and plants and animals weaving together. The birds are coming back, the soils are changing, and that all of those details have a very important role. That it's not just one big action that is the solution for our huge world problems, but that every small action really contributes. But to understand that, just impact can grow over time. And as with everything in life, we have negative impacts that grow over time and accumulate, and we have positive impacts that grow and accumulate over time. So one thing that I have been called to do with this new moon is to actually look and reflect into the past, probably because of Mercury's retrograde momentum. And I was checking on the new moon that we had 1 year ago. So in 2023, on the 13th of December, we had a new moon also in Sagittarius. And this new moon was actually in 20 degrees and 40 minutes. And that is the same degree that Mercury is in right now. So with this new moon, Mercury is in 20 degrees and 20 minutes. Of course, always noticing the details. When we have a double number like that, it really shows us that this number is important right now. 20 degrees, 20 minutes, 2020, 20 and 20. So with that information, we can also reflect, what is it telling us? The 2 is the number of the high priestess in the tarot. It is the number of the moon. And 0 is the number of the fool in the tarot. And it's also the number of Pluto. So these are energies that are really calling us to be intuitive, to sense, connecting with the waters, and really allowing karmic evolution to take place, allowing us to take jumps into unknown territories, knowing that we have cared for the details and that we are continuing to care for the details. So to be able to communicate, to be able to really access information and integrate information. Mercury is also the nervous system, the trade market system, the ability to travel in perspective, to travel in between dimensions. And another interesting factor, looking back at the new moon last year in December, was that we had Venus in 9 degrees of Scorpio. And right now with this new moon, we have Juno also there in 9 degrees of Scorpio. So when planets revisit the positions of other planets, it's kind of like a continuation of the importance of that degree, and that they're kind of like energetically passing on the staff to the next planet, because it's both the same new moon energy. So where we had Venus kind of showing us, revealing to us some of our deep and hidden desires, revealing to us some of the underlying currencies, the underlying energies that are needed to manifest, that are in alignment with our heart. Now we have the energy of Juno, and Juno is inviting us to take responsibility, to allow ourselves to lead a process, to allow ourselves to make contracts and kind of demand a loyalty that is going to ultimately allow a process of purification, a process of change, the Scorpio energy, a process of recycling energy to really be in place. And Venus in this cycle is in 23 degrees of Capricorn. So Venus is right now really understanding and receiving information about manifestations with the lands directly, manifestations in the physical realm, and manifestations that are going to be long-term, that are striving towards stability, that are not just short-term solutions, but that are really going to be stones that once they are rolling, they can go far. This energy is also trining Uranus right now in 24 degrees of Taurus, and which is in retrograde also. So it's really calling in for change, but it's also in a deep process of reflecting, and I even feel undoing. And this has been a big topic that has come up in the last days, has been the topic of how to undo damage that has been done to the earth, how to undo some damage that has been there in your life, how to undo some of the physical things that have been happening. And this can include health issues. How can you undo? How can you return back to your natural state, or otherwise empower your physical well-being so that you are able to move on in the next years? And how can we put back into the original state, or otherwise empower the well-being of the plants, of the earth, of our physical systems? That also, for me, includes financial systems, because it's a physical thing that we use to communicate value to each other. And nowadays we highly depend on it for our physical well-being. Most of the people that I know use money to buy food. So there's a big connection there, a big correlation. So it's also about asking questions of how can you change your financial situations? How can you take small steps to improve your long-term well-being? How can you maybe start to invest? How can you get together and network and change your decisions around finances so that you can invest for your future, for the future of others, and really including the well-being of everything. So how can that investment be also in alignment with taking care of the earth, taking care of your body, taking care of nourishing the systems from a source of love rather than a source of fear or a source of greed, but from really that power that comes from Venus. Really allowing also those like energies of innovation, of being able to create solutions, of being imaginative, of sometimes even pretending that things are better than they are and acting like that, and using the placebo effect and using the fake it till you make it, because sometimes it may work. Being like a genius, being an inventor. Those are the energies that last year, also with Pallas Athena, have been in Scorpio together with Venus. And so this year Juno is really helping us to ground those things, to take action, to make sure that things are in place. Kind of also calling in a council meeting. That can be a meeting between you and all of the parts of yourself. That can be a council meeting between you and community members, where resources are able to flow together. That can be a council meeting between you and politicians that you are working with or that you want to address. That can be a council meeting between you and the different plants and the trees around where you live, where you are walking, where you are learning. And to just allow, all of those seats to be taken so that we can receive the most abundant information, so that we can actually restore information as well, that we can share information, and that we can learn by witnessing, learn by observing, learning by imitating the positive things that we are doing, that we are seeing other people doing, and that we would like to be doing ourselves. So this feels like it's a storm of information right now. It's like a storm of little details to be really aware of. It is a storm of energy that is coming, and also electrical energy I feel is very present. We've been having also a lot of weather lighting here, and also bugs flying around that are just glowing. So there's this energy everywhere. It's in the air and feels really potent right now. So before I sign off for this video, I have my cards here again. This time I have the regular Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. And I want to ask for a message from the cards, thanking the cards for their support and their wisdom, for just a piece of inspiration that will help us to be aware, that will help us to make really wise and reflected decisions that are able to help support us in growth and receiving abundance and taking care of each other and ourselves in the future. So this is the card that came. This is the Lovers. This is the card number 6 in the tarot. It came down reversed. And this is actually beautiful. This is an energy of communicating. So these are 3 figures here, and they represent the 3 parts of the triangle energy that helps, that is part of this manifestation energy here on Earth. We have the polarities, the feminine and the masculine, but then we also have something that is bigger than both of them, here represented by this angel, by this spirit. And we have these different parts that are all kind of taking a different role. So this figure here is looking over here, and this figure here is looking up above, while this figure here is kind of looking down. So they are looking to each other for guidance, but each one receives a different form of a guidance, and each one has a different place to look. So it is important that we do direct our looks at where we can receive information, and that then the other people again try to receive that information from us, and that all of the information is being shared in a circular way, with everyone understanding what is their best thing to look for right now. Where are they good at perceiving, at seeing, at analyzing, at witnessing, and then to come together and share that information. But this card is also the number 6, which is the number of polarity itself. So it's about understanding that things also, when they come together in union, in harmony, we have the energy available to create something new. But it also tells us that this is an energy that may be stable, but is ultimately looking to move forward. That will be the number 7 following. At this moment, it's really a time of understanding and reflecting and looking at all of the possible actions and trying to gather information for which actions to take. And understanding that the 2 paths, the other name of this card, the 2 paths are essentially going to lead us one way or the other, but we do not know if they will forever stray apart. And the idea here, or the assumption, is that the 2 paths ultimately also come together. So to not let the fear of making a wrong decision keep us limited, keep us halted, but to understand that even with our failures, even with our mistakes, we are always in a process of learning. Each mistake is valuable to make. And when we take risks, sometimes we are rewarded. But even if we feel like we are not being rewarded and that it's a mistake and it's a huge failure, there is still some sense of teaching in that. There is still some sense of a reward that we may only understand in the years to come, because we will then be pushed and forced to change our mentality or our action or the health, or to just reconsider what we believe about life. And ultimately that will always push us and bring us forwards on the path of our own karma. It is inevitable that we move forwards on that path of our own karma. So understanding that we need to make decisions. It is a time where we need to make decisions. And the more informed and inclusive those decisions are, the better they may be. But generally to not be afraid to even make them, because getting into a decision paralysis is even worse than deciding to at least try. Also trusting that there will be sometimes a redirection once we start and make a decision, and to just understand that those things are partially there to guide us, and partially we have also been needing to take a detour sometimes to learn something specific, to really arrive at the place of personality, the place of being that we need, to arrive in the frequency that we need to be in, to then ultimately make that other decision or take that other path. So may this card be a reminder that we are right now, it's reversed, so internally we should get really clear on our decisions, collect as much information as possible, and understand how all of the details are really being accumulating over time, understanding when it is better to retreat and to wait for something to pass, understanding which actions are needed, which small actions are needed, because they are ultimately bringing good into the world over time, understanding what is the wisdom needed to take those actions, what is the information needed, how is that information being processed, in which state of mind are you while taking a decision, Are you taking it while you are at the verge of a breakdown, or are you taking it when you are in a space of calm, relaxed centeredness? And are you taking those decisions after reflecting, after collecting information, but ultimately sensing the right moment of timing, really tapping into that intuitive wisdom, while also allowing yourself to be inspired by others, by imitating the things that we find are supportive for what your goal may be, for what the goal of humanity may be. Ultimately, we're unifying parts of ourselves that have been there, and thoughts and ideas that we may have already had last year, where we were not yet ready to take those actions. But now, as new beings with fresh skin, we are really able to allow those next steps to happen. We are ready to walk those next steps. And we're not alone. We are guided. We are being guided internally with the different parts of ourselves that all have a different way of thinking and behaving and acting. We are guided by the communities around us that we can get in contact with, that we can communicate with and bring into counsel. And we are guided with the spiritual forces that are all around and inside of us, that we can also consult with, communicate with, and should consult and communicate with in a way that feels purposeful and aligned with how you receive energy, how you receive information. It's a physical experience. So allowing that guidance to also be received by yourself. I feel that this card is a beautiful accompaniment for this new moon, also with this fiery energy, these fiery wings. Really understanding all of the energy, all of the momentum, all of the ideas that are there in the ethers that are available, and just like waiting for people to channel the information. And even so much is already channeled, just waiting for people to be brave enough, to be wise enough to move in those directions. And ultimately caring for the future of the world, the future of the generations that come after us, the future of the short-term future, so to say, the long-term future, depending on the perspective of you and your personal life, of the community, of the ecosystems. So I wish and hope that that piece of information may have inspired you, may have empowered you to reflect and take wise actions, and that we are all moving into a place of finding more stability, more abundance, more passion for the things that we do, that we are including the well-being of this whole planet, because it is really our home, where we live, and what provides us with so much beauty, support, and abundance. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this reading, I would be super happy to hear your comments down below, for you to give it a thumbs up or to share it with your friends and family or anyone who really can benefit from this message right now. And if you want some personal guidance, I have all of the information listed below. I am happy to guide you through a personal reading, or also through a session with family and systems constellation, which is a really interesting technique that you can use to kind of unravel any topic that you have dealing about emotions, about blockages, helping you move into the understanding of a conflict, or to just break through some trauma, some cycles. Also helping to really look at the details of what is at the core of your experience, of your problem, of your blockage, of your inner turmoil, so to say. And even without turmoil, it can be very interesting to reflect upon life, to understand which next steps to take for your future, or what may be hindering you in making investments and taking the next action steps, and having the courage to dare yourself to go after your dreams. So feel free to contact me. I would be happy to provide some guidance and schedule a meeting with you. And I also have shared it already, but I will share it again. I have recorded a 30-minute audio-visual journey. It's called Rooted in Water, and it's really a beautiful way of receiving my frequency and my magic as a musician, as an artist, to connect with a part of this life that contains so much magic, that contains such a rich, inspiring knowledge, connecting the roots of our being and understanding the purpose and the function of the water as an alchemist. So I will share that video link up here and also in the description. Thank you all so much for your time, for listening. I am very grateful to be here, to be able to share this information. And I'm very grateful to be where I am right now as well. So enjoy this new moon, enjoy this cleansing, gathering your resources, and I will see you with the full moon. Goodbye.